Mama, sound the lunk alarm. We got another man in the ladies' locker room.
He says he identifies as a woman and he won't leave the restroom.
Christopher Miller in the ladies' locker room.
Planet Fitness allows members to use the locker room and the restroom that they identify with.
One woman called 911.
And what's he wearing?
Nothing. Literally nothing. He's just walking around showing us his and he won't leave.
This suspect even exposed themselves to a minor.
All of this reminds me of a saying that my mom used to tell me when I was young. She used to say, "Mijo, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a man in the ladies' locker room." And growing up, I never understood why she said that, but now it all makes sense. There's no denying a mother's wisdom. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Planet Fitness is at it again. That's right, Planet Fitness is facing even more problems. This time, the guy isn't even trying. If you guys remember last time we talked about Phyllis, if you guys don't remember who Phyllis was, or if you weren't watching, here's a quick refresher.
There is a man shaving in a women's bathroom.
If this person's girl name isn't Phyllis, that's a true travesty. So that was Phyllis. Now Phyllis's kid sister is apparently in North Carolina causing havoc and being even more bold than Phyllis was. Because Phyllis was not accused of doing anything indecent. I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying Phyllis should have been in the ladies' locker room. But all jokes aside, this is a bit ridiculous because Planet Fitness is still standing by to a degree because this person did actually get arrested. But Planet Fitness is still standing by there. We just accept people with the way that they self-identify, and there has to be a different solution, because when a guy that looks like this shows up in the ladies' locker room and you expect women to just pretend like it's not happening, and this one got bold. I'm gonna read this story to you guys. This is from one of the news stations out in North Carolina, and so here it is. Christopher Allen Miller, 38, was arrested after going into the women's locker room Thursday at the Gastonia Planet Fitness on South New Hope Road. Planet Fitness allows members to use the restroom and locker room they identify with as part of their no judgment motto. Now that's where I'm going to stop really quick, because there's a difference between being judgmental and calling out a statement of facts. If you are an actual man and you look like a man, you have no business in the women's locker room. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. On the last one, I suggested that they change all the signs to say male and female. That way it could be based on technical sex and not gender, so that there was no room for argument. I don't know why they haven't done that. Planet Fitness has received 28 bomb threats since all of this went down. For a minute, their stock price was suffering. Now, I don't know what's going to happen on this one with their stock price, because it had recovered, but who knows what's going to happen now, because I don't see a lot of people continuing to go to Planet Fitness when they're being so loose with the way that these rules work. And if you know any actual transsexuals, it should be a clue to most people that these people insist on being there, because most actual transsexuals do not especially want to be naked in front of anybody that they're not going to be intimate with, that they don't actually trust, because it's not about exhibition for them. It really is more about shame. And that may sound like a bad way to say it, but it really is like they're not happy with the way that they're born. So the last thing they want to do is show it off or expose it to strangers. So that right there should be a clue, but let's go on. However, some members said they are worried and believe Miller misused the policy after hearing the allegations and calling for help. I think I might agree with that. Women at Planet Fitness were stunned last week to see Miller in the women's locker room. One woman called 911.
And what's he wearing?
Nothing. Literally nothing.
Okay, so he is completely naked.
He's completely naked.
Sources tell Channel 9 Miller asked a woman to rub lotion and shower together.
Okay, so that's not something that would ever happen in either locker room, male or female. And I've been to a lot of gyms. I go to gyms regularly. Planet Fitness, I've been to quite a bit, and that is not normal, male, female, or anything in between. I mean, rub lotion. Come on. Can you hit my back? But okay.
And is that man still there?
Yeah, he's still in the bathroom. It's a man, but he says he identifies as a woman and he won't leave the restroom. But he's just walking around showing us his and he won't leave.
Miller was harassing women in the gym before the arrest, sources told Channel 9. Member Betty Bryce is upset that Miller reportedly claimed to identify as a woman as a reason to stay in the ladies' locker room.
I think a woman should be able to go in a woman's bathroom without a man coming there saying that he's transgender.
Which is perfectly reasonable and perfectly fair. And if you're an actual gym goer, you just want to be able to get in your workout, get it done. If you're at Planet Fitness, you might be there for pizza or bagels. Who knows? Either way, you just want to get in, get out, do your stuff. You don't want to argue with anybody. You don't want any controversy. And now, here you are in the bathroom, and you know you're faced with the threat that if you don't handle it the right way, you could lose your gym membership because you're being judgmental, which is not a fair place to put anybody in, especially women when we're talking about men, because we've got to accept at some point genetic males do have different strengths. There is a different threat. So it's kind of scary to even have to deal with that when you're a woman in a vulnerable position like a locker room. Anything could happen in the locker room. And now here you are, a woman faced with this dilemma. Okay, do I want to lose my gym membership because the lady in Alaska lost her gym membership because she took a picture because she didn't think that a man was supposed to be in the women's locker room? And instead of them addressing that with the genetic male who identifies as a woman, instead they decided to terminate her membership, and they stood on that. And so that's why they're dealing with threats. And the other thing I think people forget is that a lot of Planet Fitness are franchises. So how much money are the franchisees losing when these controversies are happening? And do all the franchisees really want to enforce these rules that Planet Fitness has that are costing them money? I did a little bit of research. $969,000 on the low end is what you have to invest in order to own a Planet Fitness. And it can go up to over $1 million. Also, you have to have $3 million net worth and $1.5 million in liquid cash in order to get a Planet Fitness in the first place. Then there's the monthly $400 or $500 that you have to pay as a franchise fee. So right now, I'm sure a lot of Planet Fitness owners are really hemorrhaging money because of these controversies that may not be policies that they even want to stand behind. And then this stuff starts happening and it starts affecting Planet Fitness nationwide, which is going to hurt your bottom line and your investment. But let's go on. Clark Simon, the former president of Charlotte Pride, said,
Planet Fitness inclusivity policy was made so that transgender people feel welcome too.
And when you do that, you create a sense of safety, security, and affirmation for them to be able to do the things that everybody else is able to do in a secure, safe, and affirming setting.
And as a society, at some point we got to put our collective foot down and just say, we're not all here to affirm you. You get that wherever you get it. This is a gym. That's the male locker room. That's the female locker room. Whichever parts you actually have is the locker room that you belong in. Every Planet Fitness that I've ever been to, and I have been to a lot of them, has a couple of private changing rooms. So if you're a man and you identify as a woman, you can still go to the men's and then just go immediately to that private changing room, handle everything there. I have trans friends I've talked to about this recently, and all of them have told me that they get dressed to go to the gym before they get to the gym. Getting dressed in the women's locker room isn't even something that enters their minds because they don't want to have to disrobe in front of anybody. They would rather do that at home when they're comfortable, show up in their gym clothes. A lot of times I show up in my gym clothes. It's not that hard to just show up in your gym clothes. It's also not that hard to just go to the locker room that aligns with your sex at birth and just use a private locker room. I cannot stress this enough. So let's go on. But Simon told Channel 9
That is no excuse for someone who is not transgender to violate that space. And he said Planet Fitness had to control that.
Okay, Simon, in case you guys don't remember what I just said, Simon was the former president of Charlotte Pride, Gay Pride, LGBT Pride. Okay, Simon, this is where you, as a leader from the community, should come up with a solution or help to come up with a solution. If we're going to be worried about minute things like people's pronouns and a lot of stuff that a lot of us really don't care about, then when it's time to figure out situations like this is where an expert like like you or some of the others from the LGBT community, and more specifically trans community, can maybe step forward and offer some solutions, because I think the solution that I've given is already pretty good. Just go to the bathroom that aligns with your parts and use a private changing room. And in this story, one thing that it's not mentioned so far is that there was a girl under the age of 18 that was in the locker room while this man was walking around naked. And in some of the articles I've seen, they still refer to him as they and them. And I think at a point we should be able to refer to people as what it is they are, especially when they're doing something like this. In a situation like this, it does actually matter because it is a male in the female locker room, and that does pose a different threat. It's not about affirmation. It's not about not being polite. It's not about being discriminatory. It really is just about a statement of facts after what might potentially be a crime has just occurred. And I say might potentially because this person has not been convicted of anything. They just got arrested. So again, I think it's unfair for Simon to completely put it back on Planet Fitness when Planet Fitness and the straight community might need a little bit of your guidance or your expertise. This is where you can actually be helpful. Instead of protesting things that don't matter, how about you step in here with an actual solution, Simon? So then it goes on to say, Miller is in jail charged with indecent exposure to a minor. So there you go. Without talking to Miller, there's no way for Channel 9 to know whether Miller truly is transgender. Planet Fitness's policy states that members are allowed to use locker rooms based on their self-reported gender identity. There is no indication that Miller self-reported before this incident. That's because he didn't have to report. All you have to do is look at him, see the beard, see that he's clearly a man, and just be like, yeah, you don't belong in the women's bathroom. A spokesperson for Planet Fitness told Channel 9 its employees took immediate action to ensure the safety of members, and officials are working with law enforcement. The spokesperson said they have zero tolerance for harassment of any kind. Well, at least that, but at the same time, I don't know how you can enforce one and still be in line with the other. To me, I think this is where the politeness part of it needs to just go out the window, and you need to treat people the same way you treat them when they're working out too hard. Because in the upside down world that is Planet Fitness, I don't know if you guys know this, but I definitely do. If you are working out too hard, if you are grunting, if you have a gallon of water, if you're wearing actual bodybuilder clothing, all of that is considered against the rules, and that's what'll make them ring the lunk alarm on you. And in some cases, they will terminate your membership for all of these normal things that usually do happen at a gym. But then when it comes to genetic males in the women's locker room, suddenly there is where you draw the line. I don't know what it's going to take for Planet Fitness to just understand that this isn't that hard of a situation to figure out when it comes down to it. Changing the policy and just telling people, hey, if you have a problem with the way that it works here, then this might not be the gym for you. But here, for the comfort of our female members, for safety reasons, we do have to make sure that the women's locker room is as safe as it can possibly be. And if you want to be really politically correct about it, you can have one of the female staff members come over to Christopher or Phyllis, if that's the case, and just be like, can I talk to you woman to woman real quick? Little girl talk just between us two gals. I know this is a touchy situation, and really, I don't want to have to do this myself. But I know if there's anybody I can talk to about this, it's a down-ass bitch like yourself. What I'm going to need you to do is not intimidate the other women by going to the women's locker room. Instead, you go to the men's locker room. I get it. I know. You're a woman to me too. A woman in every sense of the word, except for when the word is right before locker room. Everywhere else in this gym, you are a woman. So that's the men's locker room. That's where you go, Christopher, Christina, Chris. And that's the way you handle that. You've respected her as a woman. You've also respected the real women that want to be able to use the women's locker room. Anyway, if you guys could do me the favor, like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to comment just to help me on the algorithm, but you don't know what to comment, just put a knife, because you know that some trans activist is definitely gonna come for my neck. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.